Welcome back to another episode of the Max Turn Podcast. Kyle Stitch here alongside James Finch. And today we just kind of run around a little bit of the NHL, couple contract extensions, some interesting trends for the first kind of month of the season. We're planning to talk a little bit more, a little bit in depth on the Buffalo Sabres start as well, but we'll kind of see how the episode progresses and we'll kind of gauge how much time we spend there based on how the other topics kind of go, because the Sabres have had an interesting start and I have a theory as to why. That's a teaser. So you gotta stay tuned to know why I think that they have started poorly. Appreciate you listening. Max Turn Podcast available on all major podcast platforms. Our content, including our contract projections, available on X at AFP Analytics. So those include extension projections. Every single day, it feels like those are slightly less relevant, but they're still there. Note those were done before the season. We'll be going back and noting that again in a minute when we talk about Shane Pinto.
Before the off season.
Yes,
really.
before the off season. So they were released in May with our regular projections. New ones will be coming after the new year, and we'll kind of look at the NHL calendar and our calendars and kind of figure out when we're going to start to work on those and target a date for those. But again, we appreciate you listening. Content, X, Threads, Blue Sky. If you feel so inclined and appreciate our work, buy me a coffee through our link tree. We'll take at least 10% of all contributions and donate it to a charity at an appropriate time when it's kind of been enough time. We'll see how that all goes. So, I guess let's get into it. We'll start with the most recent contract projection we're recording, or the contract signed, recording the night of November 13th. And what, today? Yes, today there were two. Yeah. So Scott Wedgewood chronologically was more recent, so we'll start there, and I think we also just have less to say about Wedgewood. So
so pretty much can wrap that deal in a minute. He's been solid for Colorado. Signed for 1 by 2.5. I think we had 2 by 2
ish. I think.
Yeah, about 2 by 2. His play this season so far, especially with Blackwood hurt a little bit, has been good. I think he earned the $2.5 million. My viewpoint was just, again, we're going to be coming up on a weaker free agent class. I feel like he probably could have waited and gotten more term, but also at the end of the day, he's a good backup. So I'm not going to say it was a bad deal at all for him. I just think could have taken advantage kind of the lack of options.
Yeah, look at what Vladar got last year in unrestricted free agency, but can't knock a guy who at one time was an AHL goalie, signing a 1 year, $2.5 million contract in a good situation with a good team where he has a legitimate chance to win a Stanley Cup and is getting legitimate playing minutes.
Yeah.
And it's not, and he could easily get another contract after that.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to knock the guy.
Right. Like, it's not a bad thing that happened.
Also, I think very good by Colorado to get that business wrapped up, that out of the way, to make sure that they don't have to, as you highlighted, dip into the free agent class or kind of be, if he were to walk in the offseason, kind of be scrambling to find an option to replace him.
Shane Pinto was earlier in the day, pretty much morning.
Yeah, I think I woke up to that news. So I got to sleep in today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I was already awake for the news.
Yeah.
Shane Pinto. So and again, make sure we make everyone aware here. This was a projection done in May. Well, we released them first week of May. So our projection for Pinto at that time, 5 years at about 5.9. that was kind of meant to be okay. He's an in between second, third line center. He's one of the best third line centers. Should be able to kind of hold down second line role. So far this season, we've seen him take over the second line role and play very well. He's scoring goals like they know he can. It led to a 4-year deal at $7.5 million. So that's 1.5 million, pretty much higher than what we had projected. To both of us, I think it's fair to say we are okay with this value.
He got 2C money.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect comparison, but Brock Nelson this past offseason.
Yeah.
So basically, it would be a season. He would play a season on the contract before Pinto's kicks in. He signed 7.5. And I mean, that's overly simplifying it, but like that's a good, solid unrestricted free agent at 2C.
Yeah. It is oversimplifying it, but at the same time, that's sometimes how this goes a little bit.
Correct.
Is that recently, what did a similar level player sign for? And that's kind of where you get your number. I like this for Pinto, specifically that when this deal expires, he will be a 29-year-old unrestricted free agent. Great timeline for him to be able to cash in again. A lot of growth in the cap by then, and he will still be at a very good point in his career where he should be able to lock in, I would say then, maybe a long-term deal at, hopefully, for his sake, a much higher AAV at that point, assuming he continues to be a good 2C.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and like harp and like rationalize the difference in what he signed versus our projection, but just to kind of point out, you had highlighted we had projected a 5-year 5.7, which we thought was the marketplace for like a very good 3C who could kind of jump up as a 2C in pinches. I think that was fair market value because we watched Ryan McLeod with Buffalo this offseason sign, I think 4 years, $5 million or something like that.
Just about.
And what I just described is McLeod is a really good 3C that can move up into the lineup in a pinch and play 2C. Get more to that a little bit later in the episode. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, that was, I think, a fair projection, and I also think it's a he got fair market value at this point. From Ottawa's perspective, I don't think that this is a bad contract because, again, I think it's fairly fair value. I guess I'll just bluntly say it. They're admitting Cousins is not a 2C. Dylan Cousins, who they acquired this offseason, or not this offseason, trade deadline last year in exchange for Josh Norris. I'm not saying that it's a flat-out bust of a trade for Ottawa because it's not, because Norris is hurt again in Buffalo, but this trade has not worked out quite how I think either team was hoping it would, and kind of already paying Pinto and kind of committing to him as the 2C. Ottawa's realizing that Cousins is more of a winger than a center at this point, which I think to me had become very clear in his time in Buffalo, but that's interesting. That's one kind of underlying thing that's a little bit interesting here is as we've said, Pinto's clearly been the 2C this year. Cousins is not.
Cousins, I think, is still mostly playing down the middle, but just from a time on ice perspective, he is or has taken a backseat to Pinto. Pinto skates 2 more minutes a night. That's not insignificant.
No. Is that 5-on-5 or total?
That's just total.
Yeah.
Which
that's still not insignificant.
No, we could dive into it more and like who's getting more power play, more PK, but in just overall, for a 2 minute separation like that. I think that is kind of Ottawa saying, all right, Pinto's the 2C.
Yeah. We won't go down the Dylan Cousins rabbit hole.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay. We can move on to maybe some more positive
Yeah.
things,
Exciting
like
things in the NHL.
fun, cool. If you're just a fan of hockey, like this is good to see type of things.
Yes. And that is this first month of the season has been just incredible by three young budding superstars. Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, and Leo Carlson are squarely in the Art Ross conversation right now. Does not mean they're going to win it by any means, because veteran Nathan MacKinnon is also having a phenomenal year. But my goodness, Carlson, Bedard, and Celebrini have been phenomenal. Celebrini had a very good rookie year, so him taking a little bit step forward and being healthy, I guess he's outperforming what I would have expected. But I think a lot of people were hoping and almost expecting to see another good season out of him. It's not like you were expecting Bedard or Carlson to not be good, but their ascension has been really positive for their teams.
Yeah, so I I do think it's fair to say like what Celebrini's doing is less of a surprise than the other two, based off what we saw last year. Not to say, like you said, it's not to say those other two weren't capable of this. It's just it's less of a surprise. Bedard has found a next level. Obviously, it's there point wise. If you watch any Blackhawks games, which I have, I don't know why, but
Well,
I guess Bedard kind of. It's a bit noticeable that there's more confidence there offensively.
and even I'll say two-way as well. Like he's made I've seen some nice plays in like the neutral
He's
zone. I'm
made
not going to
plays.
say maybe as much defensively, but I know the other day he had made a nice little stick check at like the red line. So I'm not going to say he's perfect two-way, but I think
Yeah.
there's at least improvement there as well.
There's improvement. I think there's still a lot of room to continue improving there, but he is better. But yeah, I guess I don't want to say any of this is unexpected. Leo Carlson should be a top player in the league at some point. I think his name being included there, though, he was not a draft pick that was a or considered a potential generational guy. Potentially elite, but I think that's huge for Anaheim to, or even Anaheim fans to be able to look at the point leaders and see his name amongst even those other two younger centers. And then, as you mentioned, MacKinnon, McDavid, Nylander's up there, Rantanen, Eichel. Like, it's kind of a youth movement, pretty much. The younger guys are kind of taking over in a way.
Yeah, I think Carlson and then Beckett Seneca with
Yep. Seneca.
With both with Anaheim. I think at the time the picks were made, people were a little bit questioning of each. Carlson was taken above Adam Fantilli,
Yes.
which a little bit of momentum had grown for that leading up to the draft, but I think that ultimately still was a little bit of a surprise that everyone thought that year is Bedard as the clear one, Fantilli as the clear two, looked a little bit like McDavid, Eichel, and then Carlson and maybe a couple other names could have ended up third. Anaheim went and took Carlson second, and again, a little bit of questions at the time. Then this the year before or the year after, so the year before this draft, took Beckett Seneca at third overall as
Third,
well,
yep.
which again was looked at as a little bit of, I won't say reach, but a lot of people expected one or two names to come off the board between him.
Lindstrom was one that was hired. Demidov was a situation people weren't 100% comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, even Beckett's reaction when he was drafted
Yeah.
showed that he wasn't even necessarily expecting to go that high.
Yep.
So we keep it friendly here, but I think everyone remembers that moment getting caught on camera.
If you don't, go look it up.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. So, anyways, yeah, but Lindstrom, Demidov were probably higher rated prospects, at least consensus wise. Whether so, I don't. So, Anaheim, just those two players in particular, really have looked nice for them and a little bit of validation for them. Curious question. So I was kind of going here before and then kind of got bogged down talking about there. So if you're looking for just a game to put on, you're just a game to put on, you're watching TV at night by yourself and just finding a hockey game to put on. Are there certain teams early in the season that you are seeking out trying to watch?
San Jose has been one of those teams, which I feel like that's kind of a popular opinion so far this season, just because of the young talent. Because of Bedard's start, I will say, like, I don't remember the other games that were happening, but I willingly chose to watch a Blackhawks game, which recent seasons I absolutely would not do. Obviously, I mean, if you have been listening to us, you know I'm a Sabres fan. So I'm watching those games a lot and then usually turning to a different game afterwards. So a lot of times it's a West Coast team. I've tried to watch the Kings a little bit because Byfield's been doing really well and it's Kopitar's last year. So that I'll leave it at that, kind of those teams. I did try and throw on Anaheim a couple of times, actually. I want to toss them out there too. I've watched multiple Anaheim games.
Yeah, so I think one for me, that's kind of why I was curious, because I think the first team I'm looking for is actually Anaheim.
Okay.
Chicago's not far behind. San Jose is not far behind. And the other team that I'm seeking out a lot is Montreal.
I'll put it this way with San Jose. My 9 to 5, I go into the office on Wednesdays usually, and usually I've got a little bit of flexibility there. I try and go in early so I can be out early. So I'll wake up at like 5:30 in the morning to get ready for work. Tuesday before, I decided, yeah, let's watch Sharks Wild and stay up until midnight.
Yeah,
So like that's how I feel about the Sharks. They're just a very exciting team to watch. And that game ended up going to overtime. They scored a nice goal. Celebrini involved. Like it was fun. Like they're a team on the rise. It's okay if they mess up. And you just see a ton of talent.
Yeah. I can't believe that Montreal is but like they're one that I'm kind of what you said about, they're just explosive offensively.
Yep.
They have so much good offensive talent that I think I watched them against Edmonton, and I think Edmonton ended up winning that game out. It was in Edmonton. It was back and forth, but like both teams just had moments of just pure brilliance offensively.
Their power plays when you have like Demidov and Hudson both just skating circles, it's suspenseful is probably the right word that I'm looking for, honestly. Like any split second, you can't turn away from that because you'll miss an insane play.
Yeah. And you highlighted too, they also Caulfield,
Yeah,
Slavkovsky, and Suzuki as well. Like two guys with massive shots and like three elite puck distributors. It's they're fun to watch.
just trying to make my brain work a little bit here. I'm looking at the standings to see if another team jumps out at me. Oh, Utah. I tried to watch. I've watched multiple games recently because they've played the Sabres recently, but uh, I don't even remember who I watched them play. But I did watch a random like late night for the East Coast,
Yeah, I was trying to think
10
that
p.m. game.
if I had been watching Utah because they were a team that I was high on coming into the year, I convinced someone I know to bet on them, so like I gotta be right there.
Yeah,
So, but like I also think that they're exciting, but I don't know, for whatever reason I haven't found myself to as many games as I feel like I should have. And I think it's because I am gravitating towards an Anaheim, like a Chicago or Anaheim first. And then you got like the Colorados, the Vegases sprinkled in. I usually try to watch Carolina if possible as well. But those are kind of the teams I seek out. Occasionally, I'll put a Rangers game on too because I get them on a local broadcast. So sometimes it's just a hassle to get into the ESPN app, like depending on what I got going on and like how long I'm actually going to be watching. Sometimes it's just easier to go on the old cable network. I won't say my provider because not a sponsor, but sometimes it's just easier to find a Rangers game there and just go there. So
I'm pretty sure I watched Utah, Colorado, which was like a few weeks ago. Also on a late Tuesday night. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but
yeah. Any other teams we want to highlight as positives before we get into the negatives?
I will name a team that I haven't watched yet, and I'm almost kind of kicking myself now. Islanders. Schaefer. Haven't watched an Islanders game yet. So that's one that I would like to watch because they're also another team that a lot of the players are the same as they've been, but there's a different vibe, a little more intrigue around them because of Schaefer.
Yeah, they played the Devils the other night, and I had put it on for a little and then gave up the TV because I'm a good husband
Okay.
and
Yeah.
probably watch sports almost every other night. So it's like, eh. I guess I can stop watching Schaefer play, but
Yep.
yeah, I did try. I realized that was an easily accessible game, and it's like I should probably watch Matthew Schaefer and watch the little, and then just moved
I'll
on.
say that's another reason why I end up watching a lot of West Coast
Say
games is
yes.
because 10 p.m. I am the only one trying to watch something.
Yep. Yep. So
So I think if there's anything to take away from the teams we're trying to watch, a lot of them are the teams that aren't expected to really do a whole lot this year. It's more the teams that have exciting young talent
yeah.
that they're playing well now, but we are kind of expecting them to grow and get better.
Yes, I'm seeking out those teams over the Colorados, the Vegases, who I know have very good players and I know generally are good watch night in, night out,
Yep.
but I'd rather watch the young superstars than
Kind of learn their game a little bit, what's going on with that team, then like you kind of know.
Cal McCarr and Nate McKinnon.
Right. Right. Anything else across the league we want to touch on?
I'll kind of transition us nicely into kind of where we wanted to go with Buffalo
Okay.
is first month of the season, the standings, especially in the Eastern Conference, incredibly tight.
Yes.
There was a point, week and a half ago, where every single team had a point percentage of 500 or better. And the difference between last place and first place in the entire Eastern Conference was like 4 to 6 points. And that's not considering games in hand or anything. So basically, a negative stretch is detrimental,
Yeah.
which leads us into the Buffalo discussion. But another team kind of that's starting to fall in that same bucket, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, there's some issues there for sure. To add on, or I guess just give another slightly different perspective of how tight the standings are. If you just look division by division, the Metro, and we're recording the night of November 13th. There's games tonight, so this could slightly shift, but Columbus is in 8th. They're 8-7-1. That's above 500, and they are the last place in the Metro.
Yeah.
That's insane. And looking at the Atlantic, Sabres are in last. They don't have a winning record. Toronto's in 7th. Their record is 500.
Yeah.
So there's one team below 500 in the Eastern Conference right now.
Correct.
As we record. That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. And further highlighting, Detroit was in first place almost a week and a half ago, I think. Them and Montreal were neck and neck.
Yep.
They've fallen out of a playoff spot by going on a 3-game losing streak. Toronto is currently on a 3-game losing streak again as we're recording this. And Buffalo's on a 4-game losing streak. And those teams are just falling to the bottom of the standings. And because not getting points in just a couple games is detrimental right now because of how tight things started and how tight they continue to be.
Wrong thing. Okay, Detroit is like a win out of
2 wins out of
or
first.
2 wins out of first.
Yeah. They have 18 points as of recording. Montreal is 22. And then Buffalo has 14.
Detroit is 1 point out of the second wild card spot. Yet there are 2 teams who also have 18 points that are technically ahead of Detroit in the standings.
Yeah.
For the wild card spot. Like that's how tight it is.
Yeah, and
there are 4 teams behind Detroit in the East by 1 point, and then there's the Sabres in last in the East.
And to be fair, Detroit to Buffalo is only 4 points, which is the same as Detroit to Montreal.
Buffalo's 5 points out of the wild card.
Yes.
And they're in last in the East.
Yes.
So yeah, it's insanely tight in the standings right now. It's kind of hard to. No one's really out yet. What we are seeing might tell us certain things, but no one should be completely crossed off of unable to potentially make the playoffs. That kind of is leading into where we wanted to go with the Sabres.
Let me expand real quick to just the overall standings too, real quick. Buffalo 14 points. Nashville 14 points. Calgary 10 points.
Yeah.
I think just eyeballing it, those are the only teams right now under 50% point percentage. St. Louis might also be with 15 and 17 games.
St. Louis and Vancouver are both under 500.
Yeah, but
yeah. not far.
The only team that's quote unquote far under 500 is Calgary
Yeah.
in point percentage wise, because Buffalo has 14 points in 16 games.
Yeah.
Which brings us to, can Buffalo in particular turn it around? And I think we're focusing on them because, my goodness, is there a lot going on there?
Just a lot of noise.
Again,
This is a very difficult conversation. Can they turn it around? Sure. They've had an insane amount of injuries to key players. I will say that their franchise star, their captain Rasmus Dahlin, he's taken a leave of absence, rightfully so. I want to make absolutely clear.
the fact he actually came over to start the year,
Yeah. His wife needing
fiance,
sorry. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was it open heart surgery or just
full on heart transplant?
Oh, full on heart transplant. Okay. I mean, regardless, but yeah. So important to note that he is not currently with the team, but to be clear, that's extremely, if anything, ever was understandable.
Yeah, she basically died over the summer.
Yeah.
And had to be revived. And he came over to North America to play hockey while she stayed home in Sweden.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not like he, again, the fact that he came over and played any games.
Yeah.
I give him credit for trying to do that, but yeah, not going to question whatever choice he made, but
hockey is not what is most important there. So that said, important to note, while he is not injured, he is missing from the team.
Yeah.
In addition to all of the injuries that they've had.
And again, rightfully so, we don't know how long that will be.
Right. Norris got hurt. Benson hurt multiple times. Zucker has been sick, which sounds like that's been not good. Not just a kind of basic sickness. Then Yuri Kulik was sick, and then they discovered blood clots, so that's going to be a long-term thing. Am I forgetting anyone? UPL was out for a while. He's back.
Yeah, Ukko Pekalukin was out to start a little bit. Colton Ellis, the goalie they had claimed on waivers, had his back flare up.
Yeah.
And missed some time, and I think also that might have contributed to him not playing. He might have been back on the ice, but he didn't play. It was a while between games he played. Even tonight, it seems like there's some injuries cropped up. Questions if Tage Thompson's fully healthy. Questions. Oh, Owen Power started the year sick.
Yeah.
And in a little bit, Matthias Samuelsson has had lots of maintenance days already. Justin Danforth seemingly broke his foot blocking a shot in the third game of the season.
That's right.
Let me also go back to Benson real quick. In the last or second to last practice before the regular season, gets hit in the puck with the face early on in practice.
Gets hit in the face with a puck. You said he gets hit in the puck with a face.
Oh, I was thinking ahead here. Yeah.
Yep.
So
sorry, it was funny.
He takes a puck to the face, and seemingly is fine. And then opening night, not announced as he's out, and lo and behold, he had to end up in the hospital for treatment because it turned into whatever serious enough complications. Yeah. And then, as you highlighted, Jason Zucker had not had solid food for over a week because of how sick he was.
Jordan Greenway
Jordan
started the
Greenway.
season hurt.
Yeah.
I think that's the last one.
Yes, because
Looking
he
at all the
multiple
names,
multiple surgeries and recovery didn't go quite as planned.
did you say Kozak? He
Tyson
missed a little
Kozak
time.
missed
He's
about a
healthy
week.
now, I think.
Yeah.
The point of us rattling all of that off, and you're probably either
Oh,
extremely annoyed or not even listening anymore.
Michael Kesselring missed the start of the season as well
Oh,
from
that's
injury
true.
after he was acquired in the offseason in that JJ Paterka trade along with Josh Doan.
So basically, everything's going wrong for the Sabres.
So
Almost
if you're
everything.
less familiar with the roster, we just rattled a bunch of names and a bunch of injuries. Their opening night lineup in their top six was going to be Josh Norris, Zach Benson, maybe Yuri Kulik as the second line center. Him and Ryan McLeod were kind of off and on. Let's just go through top 9 forwards right now. So they had penciled in Benson, Norris, Kulik, Zucker as 4 of their 9 guys. So that's 50%. Am I missing a name there that has missed time with injury? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But that's 2 other guys on the top line. Kulik had moved into Norris's spot, and that was going between Benson and Thompson, and that was going well. And then again, Benson and Kulik are out.
Yes.
So basically, the only first line player that has consistently played games has been Tage Thompson.
Yes.
Alex Tuck, Ryan McLeod, and Josh Doan have regularly been the second line, actually a phenomenal second line, but necessity has forced them to break that line up. And then, so they haven't been able to keep any they tried as long as they could to keep that line consistently together, and just too many injuries, and they hit a breaking point where they had to move things around yet again.
Yes. So basically, inconsistency throughout the lineup, pretty much.
Yes.
To a lesser extent, it even happened defensively just due to some of the injuries. Now Dahlin's gone.
I think their expected top 6 has played 1, maybe 2 games in totality together.
Yeah. So Buffalo's last in the East. There's a lot of noise right now about mainly find a new GM. Season's done. That's the noise. I don't know if I would for sure say the season's done. And I guess group the coaches in there because there's noise there too. Personally, I am personally of the viewpoint that I think those changes are fair to question right now, but not because this season is over. To me, it's possible the season is not over. But there are decisions that will eventually need to be made, maybe need to be made this season, that depending on where the team is at, those decisions should not be made by the current group. So I'm very much of the viewpoint, I think it's fair to have these conversations. I'm not full blown hit the panic button, write them off this season. They're done. I think it's a little too quick to do that, a little too early in the season to do that.
Yeah, so why I wanted to spend a few minutes highlighting the standings is because digging out of that hole is going to be very difficult. But
Yes.
I also don't full on disagree in that when the lineup was mostly healthy, there were signs that they actually could play good hockey and roll 4 solid lines and 3 good defensive
Yeah.
pairs, and were getting good enough goaltending. The problem is that was a very small amount of games where I would say that they had a full lineup.
Yeah, and as we were mentioning, 4 of their top 6 are out hurt, and their number 1 franchise defenseman, who's also their captain, is on leave, and we don't know how long that will last.
Yeah.
So I will say I see where panic can set in here, and that there are people who are saying, how do they climb out of that hole? Because we could. Norris is not returning soon. It doesn't seem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
We
not disagreeing, but sometimes when coaches speak long, like,
yeah, it there isn't a sign that he's on his way back
no,
soon. Kulik is not a short-term thing. That's very much a long-term
you
issue.
just you don't know, and again, that's a serious thing that you blood clotting is not something to be
Right.
joked with or messed with, especially
Exactly.
playing the sport of hockey.
Zucker, even when he's not sick anymore, is going to need a little bit of time to recover.
Yes.
Benson, hopefully, like, there's nothing too serious there.
He
With
seems closer.
yes, of those 4, he seems to be the one who should be back soon. Would be fair. Shifting gears away from the injuries, sort of. There's a lot of criticism for Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch so far. Starting with Thompson, I've had some issues with certain plays throughout the year so far where just from an IQ standpoint, not good decisions, and mainly involves kind of defensively. I've also said, and I've seen other people say it, I I don't know if he is out of shape or if he is hurt, but he isn't moving the way we know Tage Thompson can move. He's throwing hits. So I lean towards I feel like he's not that hurt if he's throwing hits around like he has been. So I don't know what's going on there. You and I have had discussions where we kind of said, like, with all these guys hurt and they were trying to figure out what to do with the lines, you would think him being their top forward, like, he'd be able to figure it out with certain players. And he wasn't able to, and that's kind of what led to that second line, or second, third, kind of however you want to look at it. The Doan McLeod Tuch line had to break apart because ultimately Thompson wasn't working with, I think it was Roseanne and Oslin.
It was
Maybe
Quinn and
Quinn was in there.
yeah,
Okay, but still,
yeah.
point being, like, you'd like to see your top forward figure it out.
Yeah. Can I throw? This is a theory I haven't thrown to you privately, but I been starting to percolate in my head a little bit. Is people have been thinking that he's out of shape. I have 2 theories, and I don't like speculating, especially something like this, because it's not fair to question. Like, we don't know the whole story. let me throw two theories out. One theory that I have told kind of thrown out to you is he played on the U.S. World Championship men's hockey World Championship team that ended until May June. So he was playing actually a lot longer than he had ever played in his career.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that affected his training regimen over the summer and just did not find the right timeline for things. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Another possibility that I'm starting to think maybe is the one that carries more credence, because no one on like in the organization has necessarily publicly called him out, at least, is I'm wondering if the organization asked him to try to bulk up over the summer to be able to ward off injuries and be a little bit and maybe be a little bit more durable. And he is not used to playing at a heavier weight, which has potentially impacted his foot speed and his ability to do certain things. I'm not going to say that the decision making's like, but even if you're a half step slower with your burst,
Yeah.
that could make the decision look worse. And because getting thicker could be, because he has every single year missed time with injuries.
Yes.
So trying to bulk up and get a little bit thicker could be a durability, thinking it would help with the durability.
Yeah.
And maybe that's had unintended consequences and he is just not able to play at the level expected of him because of whatever that directive was. And again,
Potentially.
I don't know. I don't like to speculate there because we don't know what's going on in a player's personal life. There could be something else that's not coming to light that
Right.
could be causing some serious other kind of off ice like concerns or something that he has, and it just, has spiraled a little bit. But the fact that I haven't seen a ton of public criticism from the organization almost makes me wonder if something like that is maybe the reason.
Maybe. I think ultimately, like, we don't know. All we know is what we can see, and it hasn't been what you would expect. And I don't, to be fair, I don't think he's alone. I think you can say the same thing about Alex Tuck. I don't, I very much wonder. We've had a few different theories. I wonder if Tuck not looking quite right, is the contract an issue? No one ever says it's an issue. Everyone always says it's okay. We'll put it on the back burner. Is there an issue there? Maybe, maybe not. I I would just like to see a little bit more from him. He came out beginning of the season. I'd like to finish, what do you say, top 5 in Selke voting or something. I don't think that's happening this year.
As of now, no.
Yeah. He was on a very good line. Now that it's been broken apart, it seems like he hasn't quite found that same game. So he's kind of just another one. Like, he should be an elite winger, and we're not seeing it. And you would like, even if we don't see 100% full elite Alex Tuck, can we see 80 to 90 with all those other players missing, and maybe he can help kind of step up a little bit? Again, not really seeing that too much. So,
Before moving too far away here,
yeah.
first I do want to point out this is not the first time early in a season there's been questions about the level he's been playing at.
Yeah.
So again, I hate going this direction, but there could just be slow starter. He also did miss a little bit of time at the start of training camp with injury. He was
Yeah.
not on the ice early on. So, and again, this is not a couple seasons ago. We had the exact same questions about him, and then as the season wore on, he picked up his play. So
Oh yeah.
there's not a like it could that could still happen.
Yes.
The one place that we I don't know has been given enough talking. I think the contract's been speculated more about fans, media. Is age just might be starting to catch up a little bit.
Maybe.
He's is he 30 or very close to 30 years old, which is not insignificant.
29 will turn 30 in the off season in May.
So he should still be young enough, but
Like that's when it can start going downward, the age curve.
Yep.
Right around there. Maybe, maybe not. Ultimately, I guess to bring it back to a main point, even with all the injuries, you still have your two best forwards, and they're not playing like they're your two best forwards.
correct.
And even what you would think, okay, maybe a reasonable step back, considering all those other players are out, doesn't feel like we're there either. So, what does that all mean? Injuries, player performance. That I think is where there's a lot of angst in the fan base. Because one, everyone's seen this before multiple times already in Buffalo. So I think that's where we're getting a lot of the rumors and online discussion about, okay, if this is how it's going to be, we've got a lot of players hurt, a decent amount of them long term. Our stars aren't looking good this year. What can we do? Like, you have a general manager in his 6th season. Are we allowing him to make a move to figure this out? Because if so, that needs to happen soon. If we aren't, why, like, we're getting close to the point of like, why is he still there? Because he shouldn't be the one deciding what you're looking for trading Alex Tuck. Before we move on too much, I want to I found this to be painful and fun. Before we talk about anything of what we think should be happening or should be done, just to kind of set the scene of the pain and how long it's been for Buffalo Sabres fans, myself included. Just a few fun facts of the last time they were in the playoffs. 2010, 2011.
I was still in high school, and I'm
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm old, like
I
not
was
old, but like
was I in 8th or ninth grade? Yeah, my still like Marty St. Louis finished 3rd in the Hart Trophy voting. Tim Thomas won the Vezina.
that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah. 33-year-old Jeff Skinner won the Calder Trophy at 18 years old.
Yeah.
This one is the one that blew my mind. I know that it happened in my head. I'm just the fact that this is the last time the Sabres made the playoffs. 40-year-old Nicholas Lindstrom won the Norris Trophy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Not that he did that. He was very, very good. He's one of the best defensemen ever.
Yeah.
It's crazy that that's the last time. That's the last season Buffalo was in the playoffs. Lindstrom won the Norris. So that's kind of like we can reference the amount of years. It's been 14. This would be 15. I almost think at this point, referencing the amount of years isn't doing it justice. People are becoming immune to that.
Yeah.
It's just laughed off by other fans, and current fans are kind of like, okay, yeah, another year. So I wanted to throw out just kind of those interesting names in the awards, the award voting of the last year, just to kind of set the scene of that's how long it's been.
Jeff Skinner basically played 1,000 NHL games.
Yeah.
In that time frame.
Yeah. Again, he won the Calder at 18.
Yes.
And he's 33 now.
Yes, and he a couple years ago with Buffalo played his 1,000th game.
Yes.
So, yeah, he has basically played 1,000 games since the Sabres have last time been in the playoffs.
Yep. So this would be 15. So a lot of people are like fans of other teams might think, okay, this is early to kind of have this conversation. And it is. But I think because of where the team is currently at, bottom of the Eastern Conference, and kind of what they have to deal with in the near future, there's not much glimmer of hope. The light at the end of the tunnel is very small or shrinking. So there has already been rumors about a specific name. Well, I don't even want to start there yet. Internally, they brought in Jarmo Kekalainen. Obvious person, if you were to move on from Kevin Adams, whatever part of the current regime, the obvious internal right away taking over is Jarmo. Outside of the organization, there's already been rumors of Brendan Shanahan, which to me, that's I don't know what to call it. I don't know if that's premature to go there. And I'm not even 100% sure how I would feel about that. At the end of the day, what's difficult with Buffalo is the goal isn't to win a Stanley Cup. It's to make the playoffs. So whatever knock on Shanahan of, well, he couldn't win in the playoffs, that's not what Buffalo's looking for. And I guess I'm talking the fans. That's not getting to the playoffs will be a Stanley Cup pretty much for a lot of fans.
Baby steps.
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of keep going down the rabbit hole a little bit if we want, but I think it was important to acknowledge this because a team's about to go on a decade and a half of no playoffs, and they may be the first team potentially with some significant changes this year. I don't know if it's really worth diving in too much into who could take over, stuff like that. It's more talking about what's out there right now. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think part of why the conversation's a little bit interesting is, okay, so I said earlier, there were signs when most of the players were in the lineup that they could be a decent hockey team.
Right.
The other thing that's going on with all these injuries, and we've already kind of alluded to it, but I want to lay it out very plainly, bluntly. Guys who have been called up from the AHL or coming into the lineup have not been the issue.
No.
Some of the best players the last few games have been players who started this year in Rochester.
Noah Ostlund, Isak Rosean.
Correct. Jack Quinn's looked good. I mean, that's a player that's been in Buffalo, but he's been
getting on the score sheet.
Josh Doan has been a positive, and then a lot of rotating cast on the fourth
Your
to third line.
Kozaks, Josh Dunn was called up.
Correct.
Yeah.
None of those have been the glaring issue. Have there been moments in games? Sure. But
Yeah.
like that's going to happen. So there's the glaring issue is not there. So I'm not saying that the GM is immune from criticism. But I'm kind of going to transition us right here is the issue has been, as we kind of already alluded to, the top players not being the top players.
Yeah.
In which case, whether Kevin Adams or someone else is the GM, is what is the actual ability to do something?
So, on one hand, I get that. At the same time, so Adams took over a team that was just not doing well. Third season, I believe, is the year that they missed the playoffs by 1 point. Since then, I don't know if these numbers are exactly right. I believe they went from 91 points that year to like 84 and then 79 last year. I believe that is correct. They've gotten worse.
90 to low 80s, high 70s.
Yes, they've gotten worse every year since that near playoff year. It's year 6. Like at some point, yes, players not performing to their expected level is, we can say it, that's not on the GM, it's on the player. There is a level of it's on the player, it's on the coaches, it's on the GM. Ultimately, if you are in charge of a team for over half a decade and you haven't made progress, ultimately, like, there should probably be changes.
Oh, yes.
Like,
let me be very clear that I'm not sitting here trying to say there shouldn't be changes in like anywhere. My overarching point that I want to say is even when if they swap out who's making the decisions, changing replacing Isak Roseanne in the lineup right now with making a trade for some veteran like middle six player to replace Isak Roseanne in the lineup is not going to solve a single thing.
I don't think that's what anyone wants to happen. They either it's either Adams is the general manager, you're trying to turn things around. Adams, like, do something because you're on the hot seat, or you're on the hot seat, you're gone, someone else is brought in to make the decisions of, okay, this year isn't it, what's happening with Tuck? If he's traded, then that person is the one making that deal.
Yeah. So that's kind of the
you don't have your essentially the lame duck general manager making that trade.
So that's kind of where I'm trying to push the conversation without overtly saying it is. Anyone can sit here and debate who should be making the decisions. I'm not going to disagree a single thing. But it's at the point that basically you're down to 5 levers to pull, basically, to make a move that's actually going to impact the roster.
Yeah.
Which of those levers are you pulling this time? And that's kind of, so I'll lay out the levers at this point. You have Tage Thompson, you have Alex Tuck, you have Owen Power, Bo Byram, and to an extent Rasmus Dahlin.
Sure. So I would even take a step back from that, though. I think a lot of the noise right now that's happening is happening because they're last in the East. Exaggeration, but everyone's hurt. What is the direction?
Yes.
If it's okay, try and get out of the hole, it's probably not moving any of those players. You're probably trying to move a prospect, or maybe this is when you see something with a Byram, or maybe you're using picks. That's not what I would advise, but if if the goal is to climb out of the basement of the Eastern Conference, you're trying to trade future pieces or roster players who are not long-term solutions to go get some pieces to improve.
Yes.
If the direction is, yeah, this year's not happening, that's when those names you mentioned, I think, come more into play.
Correct. And I think the general sentiment, again, right or wrong, is that's the direction things are heading.
Yes.
And again, I go back to, if your top players can't be your top players, even making that prospect or that pick swap for, I don't have a name, but like someone that's going to slot in the middle six, like
Blake Coleman from Calgary.
Sure.
Assuming he would waive a no trade clause, guessing
But
Buffalo's
yeah,
there. But yes.
Ricard Raquel,
Right.
Ryan Rust.
Yeah.
Again, do we know any of those are available? No, but that's the type of player we're basically talking about right now.
Right. You're not getting an elite top star.
How about this name, Anders Lee? No, very little trade protection, expiring contracts. Islanders are kind of in a similar situation to you. He's a top six player, top six forward.
So what is difficult is I can find you the logic there if there's somehow belief at the top of the organization that this team will turn it around, this front office knows what it's doing, and they're going to make it happen. Lee would be like potentially a very good addition for a Sabres team that
Correct.
could use just a little help, maybe culture shift, good leadership.
Correct. So maybe he has enough of a positive impact, but like, I'm still skeptical, unfortunately, that even is that does anything this year, and that's kind of where I keep pushing. Like, you have 5-6 names at this point that eventually you're gonna pull when you know that things have gone completely south. And
yeah,
to me, coming to that realization that unless the guys that we need to be performing at a high level find it, then it's time to pull one of those levers.
Yeah, which would mean there would be sweeping changes pretty much.
Correct.
Throughout the organization.
Yes, and again, I'm not saying that shouldn't happen either.
Right. Yeah, so I guess right now there's a lot of noise. A lot of people are focused on general manager. The coaches aren't good enough. The top players aren't playing. I think it all comes down to they're getting very close to a point where something of some sort has to be done, or at least acknowledged, so that there is some sort of direction.
Yes.
Because currently, right now, you have a fan base staring down year 15 out of the playoffs who are kind of wondering, like, what is the plan here?
Yeah.
That's the Buffalo Sabres right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, my pushback is, I don't know right now, I think the move is to say, okay, let's change who's calling the shots, and start to move on. But like, if you're a fan saying, "Hey, let's do something to push us, try and shake things up a little bit, push us ahead," right now I don't know if it's going to matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring in Blake Coleman, great, but the player that he's pushing out of the lineup is not necessarily your anchor.
Yeah.
The like he's not going to push
Not what
out.
the issue is right now.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't know how you rectify the top players not being the top players.
Yeah.
Getting Zach Benson back's probably going to help some, but then you still don't have a top first line center who because both Norris and Kulik are now out. So like that's where I'm at is I see and understand the frustration from fans that we want to we need to make some move. But until you're ready to start talking about, and maybe, and I think maybe some are ready to start talking about pulling the Alex Tuck lever.
I
But
have seen people kind of give the opinion of like the rumored level of contract that he's
yeah,
looking for and what we're seeing right now. Like, how do you
they don't match up.
in a season where the team's in the basement and you're not seeing that elite play, like how do you commit to a deal like that?
Yeah. So that one's a fairly, I'm not going to say easy because there's off ice and like things there too.
There's potential as far as contract. He's going to be a UFA. That on paper is the easiest lever to pull.
Yes, and it's also actually justifiable. We maybe can't commit the contract next year, so like it all is justifiable.
It might be the easiest one to get the correct value for mid-season.
Yes.
As well.
And then the only other like I think fans would be very okay with is the Bo Byram offer.
Well, yes, that's him kind of being on a short-term contract. He's not necessarily a core piece, borderline.
Well, I think the name that a lot that I want to be careful how I say this.
Yeah.
Enough fans would be okay with is the Owen Power lever.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say that would be a very bad idea.
I don't think that's the move to do here.
That would be a very, very bad idea. I get he doesn't have the flashy plays. He's had some very obvious mistakes at times. But he's still on a very good contract. He does a lot of very small things correct and drives a lot of play that I don't think is realized.
Yeah.
that would turn into a Sam Reinhart situation.
Yes. I think you take Owen Power and you put him on a good team, and that's Sam Reinhart.
Yeah.
I'm going to say let's make this last, like, sort of, I guess you call it a segment.
Point, yeah.
Let's go one step down the rabbit hole. More so theorizing how they could potentially do this. And I'll because Shanahan has been the rumored name, I'll use him as an example and ask this question. Do you think it would be advantageous that if you're going to make a GM move, it should include someone like a Shanahan who is above the general manager, who could come in now, have some time to evaluate so that it's not just Yarmo making decisions and then all of a sudden Yarmo is not the general manager moving forward? Because at the end of the day, if they move on from Adams, it seems like the easy, quick fix is Yarmo, but if he's not your general manager of the future, then you're just, in some ways, that almost is worse than just letting Adams make moves. So, whether it's Shanahan or not, do they need to find someone outside of the organization to have some sort of say or approval that is going to be there longer term beyond this season?
I think that could be Jarmo Kekalainen. I think
Okay.
it can be. I have always been and this is not just a Buffalo centric take. I have always been you do not necessarily need a president of hockey operations.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's a requirement.
so so Yarmo is, I think, enough of an outside voice perspective now, being in it for however many months at this point.
Yeah.
I think that would be fine. If you're not going to go there for whatever reason, then yes, you need to do it. You need to find that outside, that new person sooner than later and make that decision. But do you need to bring in a Shanahan to kind of babysit to get through this season and then shake things up at the end of the season? No, I say if you're going to rip the Band-Aid off and Yarmo's going to be like, you kind of want to go that direction anyways, just rip the Band-Aid off and go that direction. If you don't want to go that direction, then rip the Band-Aid off and basically clean house at like immediately, or go ahead, sure, bring Shanahan in, but like he's making the decisions then. Like I don't think you need to bring in a short-term babysitter for a couple months just to get through the trade deadline and then like
Well, I think it's a long term babysitter.
correct. So then just rip the Band-Aid off and move guys out.
Well,
Like
I guess what that basically is a question of is you need an interim general manager to operate.
yes.
If you're moving on from Adams, someone needs to be there. And depending on how you feel about Yarmo is kind of where you're. That to me is where you start to have the question of, okay, do we want someone else as kind of the lead of the organization long term, that's not just hockey ops, but just kind of gives the team some sort of respectable figure? Is Yarmo enough of that himself? Because he lost the Columbus job.
My opinion is he is. He's been
Okay.
around long enough, and I understand they moved on from him in Columbus, but he also was there for a long time and had
Yeah.
built the most success that franchise had saw.
Yeah.
I don't, and he's been around hockey long. Like he's respected enough. Does it have to be him? No, but I think that he's as qualified as just about anyone. Like I know the Shanahan ideas out there with Toronto, but outside of yeah, Shanahan's the flashy name, but I don't know if there's any other names necessarily that I point to that are going to be a better idea than Jarmo Kekalainen. Like Kekalainen's smart, he willing to like he clearly will value integrating analytics with scouting. Like I don't see why you need to pivot away from there. I'm not saying you have to go there, but
Uh,
to me, he's sufficient and he's credible and he's experienced enough that should be looked at as a favorable enough move.
it's simply deciding if that is what's right for Buffalo. Maybe you think that is. I don't know really what my opinion is yet.
Yeah,
I understand the intrigue of Shanahan for some people. And I think what he brings or gives the team is very fair. Like it's fair to point to that as him being a really good candidate. And I'm not at all anti Yarmo. I'm trying just for the conversation's sake. It does very much feel like if Buffalo makes a change, it needs to be someone with that next level of respect throughout the league that kind of gives Buffalo like okay, they're getting serious here. And
Yeah,
that can be Yarmo. It could be Shanahan. I think they need to do something that's a little bit different than what they've been doing.
yeah. So that I think Yarmo has enough respect and has operated in a smaller market
Yeah.
city where I think people would look at it as, oh, that's a smart move because he did a lot of good things in Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, ironically, I think Yarmo's tenure in Columbus is being looked at more favorably right now because some of those draft picks he kind of made towards the end of his tenure are what are driving Columbus's success forward right now and
Yeah.
have kind of blossomed out of nowhere. So I think that's like I'm not going to say the perfect candidate, but I don't see a reason that can't be what is the next step.
Yes. I think everyone would agree that he is on whatever short list there would be.
And I think there's enough respect and credibility there that it's looked around the league favorably enough and that it is a serious organization.
Yeah. I Unless there's another direction you want to go, I think that's kind of for now at least where we should wrap it on the Buffalo Sabres. I
Yep.
think again it just comes down to there's a lot of noise right now. Figure out what the plan is. And I guess I don't even know who I'm saying that to. The Sabres organization, I guess, but ultimately that's probably an ownership thing. Is are you moving on? Is now the time to move on from the current regime?
Yeah, so my kind of final thought here is I'm going to bring back the sign from I think it was last year I started bringing this up, tapping the sign. It's the Simpsons meme. Don't make me tap the sign in the front. We you see how I want to phrase this. Anyone can have an opinion that something needs to be done, and Kevin Adams or whoever needs to make a move. You could say replace the GM and everything. That's fine, but if you're going to say that, hey, Kevin Adams needs to do something to shake things up, give me what you like. Give me an example of what you want to do and what you think that's going to accomplish. Because again, I'm going to continue to harp on the issue is not the draft picks that Kevin Adams has made and has developed in Rochester and who have come into the lineup. It is the guys who have been here in the NHL for a longer term. Like the Josh Norris trade was not a good trade. Well, targeting Josh Norris was not the best idea.
Yeah.
Dylan Cousins has not necessarily panned out tremendously in Ottawa either. Again, not going to full on go in that debate, but a lot of these smaller moves that he has made, draft picks that he's inserted into the lineup, kind of the depth that he's kind of tinkered with, those are not the problem players right now. So if you want something, if you think that there's a path forward and you think that there's change, you're going to tap the sign and say, who's that name and where is that actually going to impact the lineup?
To sort of summarize that, I don't remember who I saw say this. With all the injuries, with Darlene out for a little while, your assistant captains need to step up. That's it. I mean, it's Thompson and Tuck. I know we're talking about Samuelson too there. He's been solid this year. your top players need to be top players. That's the solution forward this season.
So I started the episode by saying I think I know what's wrong with the Sabres, and I think I know the cure.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure we're giving enough credence to a curse. The curse of Darcy saying there's going to be pain. Maybe something else happened along the way. But I think we need to dive into the history books for the last 15 years and figure out moments where a curse could have been put on this team and this organization, other than current ownership buying the team.
I've seen theories. People say it's Ryan Miller.
Well,
that is when.
Whatever it is, I think collectively need to dive into the history and start to identify what the trigger point of the curse was. Did a billy goat show up to the arena and was denied entry? Because I think the solution is a seance to ward out the evil spirits or whatever that have clearly cursed this organization team, because some of the things that they are dealing with this year are, I would say, unbelievable, but they are happening. So detectives listening almost an hour 30 minutes into this podcast, time to start digging and figuring out what the curse was. Could be the curse of the turd burger jersey. Could be. Could be the Darcy press conference. Could be LaFontaine. Could be a lot of things. But I think collectively that's the path you need to go in and figure out how to have a seance to ward out that curse. I have now given you the solution for how the Buffalo Sabres can move forward. No comment.
I'm brainstorming already. I'm with you.
So we just
I have some names. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Once you start going a little too deep down the, I don't know.
So we just went like 40 minutes on, 45 minutes to an hour on all the things that are ailing the Sabres, and really I think it just breaks down to what I just laid out. There's a curse.
There's a curse.
So,
and they need to figure out a direction to get away from the curse.
Yeah.
Break it.
So instead of hiring someone with hockey experience, maybe we need to hire someone in that organization with otherworldly experience to lead that organization. Okay, now I'm just being unserious. We appreciate you listening. Max Turner Podcast, available on all major podcast platforms. Our content, including contract projections, available on X at AFP Analytics, Blue Sky Threads. Hit us up there if you have theories for what triggered the curse that is obviously the issue with the Sabres. So appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you next time.